this committee of the employees looked at all these things. They came back to us and said, the best plan we can get for us is the plan you're on. So I don't see how that in any way relates to that we feel they're insignificant when they made the decision. I don't know where we want to go with this from here. I know that there are some problems with the billing and with collection things, people getting collection letters. Now, I don't know if either one of my fellow commissioners here have any connection with this insurance, but it isn't true that we don't, it said in here that because we don't have the insurance, more or less, that we don't care. My wife has this insurance, and I'm very happy that she has this insurance. It's not the Cadillac of insurances, but it's a whole lot better than not having any insurance. And this is something that we, none of the three of us decided to have insurance for the employees. That was decided long before any of us were on it. But we have made every effort to try to get the best insurance plan we can get, given the money that we are allowed. And when it came down to talking about money, either the people of Carroll County, by through their tax dollars, we're going to have to pay a lot more money for our insurance, or our employees were going to have to pay a much, much larger deductible. So this is what we picked. Either of you have a comment, Lauren or Steve?
No, I'm going to keep quiet on this one.
You are?
Yep.
Sit it out, huh, Steve?
Yep. I'm going to be as a taxpayer and be quiet on this one because I think our insurance is okay.
Lauren, do you have a comment?
Well, your insurance, you don't really know what you have till you go to use it.
Right.
And also what I found out with insurance is, no, kind of lost my thought there, but, it's everything's changed. The medical, everything's changing. Maybe we get tied from Memorial Hospital Logansport, but I don't think we want that option. I think we have a good option. We can go Lafayette or wherever, you know, but I think, and we do have the HSA available too, additional for that. So that's all help. Is you gotta, looks to me like you got a plan and you got to have some personal responsibility in the whole thing. So I know there's issues anytime you deal with an insurance company. So I don't think there's anything that's affordable that you can just go and do what you want to with the doctors or hospitals. And then, you hear some about these tremendous plans, but I don't think we can make those available. Those are high-end plans, like Cadillac plans. So, I mean, being self-insured for forever, I was on a group insurance at one time. It was great, but didn't last. The healthcare field and the insurance industry has changed so much over the years. So, it's a tough call. There's no Cadillac plan that we can afford, I'm sure.
Could I extrapolate on my email, please?
Sure.
Okay. I understand that you had a small group of employees investigate this here a few years back and came back with this as their best option. And number one, it was a small group. I can't remember who the appointed volunteers or the appointed people were to that group, but that's, again, you're asking a small group and not, I don't know how much research and data that they were given to make this decision. Also, things have changed in the last 5 years, and I think that in the early years of this plan, that maybe were more successful in negotiating with the hospitals, and they were more open to writing things off. But that climate has changed. I can tell you, I've spoken with a lot of people and facilities, and they're not so willing to just roll over and write things off. That has changed. And also, the budget of $50,000, when we get stop loss refunds, which we do get when an employee has reached a certain threshold, we have stop loss refunds back from the insurance. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe those refunds get put back into the appropriation of $750,000. So you need to make sure you take those stop loss refunds, which are significant, and back those out or add those back into the $750,000 appropriation. And in fact, in 2019, by my records, I show that of the $750,000, a little less than $300,000 was actually expended when you add in the prescription rebates and the stop loss refunds. So, and my last comment is, I don't see that Apex provided you with any other quotes for the traditional plans. So I don't see how you can say this is all we can afford when you didn't even get quotes from Apex. And also, Apex is not the only broker. It's just the only broker that you've spoken to. So that's just my comments I'd like to add.
Okay. And I think there's, for the most part, I would agree with a lot of those. With start at the beginning, any committee is a representative sample of the people. It's not everybody doing it together. So when we selected a committee, it was those who volunteered and wanted to be on it, and we did it and thought we had a pretty well cross representation of all the different departments. The Apex has gone with us, not this year. In years past, they have gone through all sorts of different plans that they could give us. And we do know that there are multitudes of agents out here that could quote prices to us. The thing is, I'll just throw one out here, is if you're looking at, say, Anthem, Blue Cross Blue Shield, there's 500 different agents that we could buy that from, and basically it's about 500 different agents with the same price. So when you find somebody that has worked very hard for you, it's easy to just continue with them and have them quote all the different companies that they could get for us, which they have done. All of them, what really precipitated this was that we were in a situation where that the insurance policies we had was going to be significantly over $1 million. And that was several years, 5 years ago. Today, it would probably be $1.5 million or more. It would be the cost to the taxpayer. Now, I'm just picking that number. I know it was over $1 million 5 years ago, so who knows where it would be now. And the council just said, we're not paying this. As representative people, that's what they're supposed to do, is decide what they'll pay and what they won't. And they said no. So we were forced to find some way to provide insurance for our people that was within line of what the budget was set for us. I think we did a pretty good job of finding it, but I am very aware that there are some problems as far as when they're negotiating these costs down with the hospitals. And I've said before that I think it'd be wonderful if everybody would go to a plan like this, so that we would force the hospital to stop charging $25 for a Band-Aid when they stick it on, which is not out of line with what that they do. But that's not realistic. Everybody's not going to go to a plan like this. And certainly Carroll County, as Melinda's pointed out to me before, is not going to be significant enough to make anybody change their minds on on how much they charge for something in a hospital in, say, Lafayette. We could, as Lauren said, try to negotiate with the Cass County Hospital, but I think we'd get just as many complaints from our employees about that as if everybody had to go to the Cass County Hospital, because we're more oriented towards Lafayette hospitals. Some of our people that live down in the Burlington area and on that side of the county may want to go to Kokomo. There's quality health care there. Not to say that there isn't quality health care in Logansport, but that's just where people prefer to go, is most of our people go to Lafayette. Same would be true with White County Hospital. I don't think most people in our staff would want to be forced to go to White County Hospital. There'd be so many things that they would then be transferred from there to another hospital. So I don't know what the answer is to this to make everybody happy, but I know there's problems, and there's problems with paying for another kind. Now, yes, you brought up, Melinda, a question about if money was put back in that insurance fund. That's an accounting thing. I don't know. Beth, how's that handled? Does money that it comes back to us go back into that fund, or does it go to the general fund?
It goes to the general fund, and there is a special line there that shows how much we have received, and same thing with the prescriptions. And that you can't just put it back in the same line that you spent it out of. That's not how Carroll County or any kind of government accounting works. So you'd have to do an additional to get it back in there, and
Okay.
have that figure when you meeting with Apex. And anyway, yes, it's accounted.
So what we would have to do, if we wanted to do that, would be to request of you that you would keep track of how much money is being put back in there, and then go to the council and make a request if they put it back in the insurance fund, right?
You could ask me to do that, yes. I mean, we keep records of what we get back, and that's the reason we put it in a different line item in the county general, so.
But don't that affect the end budget and what we can receive? When we do our budget, that counted part of it. If we put that back as an additional, that just adds to it.
It could affect the budget, yes, a little bit. And you got to remember that when you're budgeting the 750, you're budgeting for all employees, and not all employees take the insurance. So it's going to be a little bit higher than what we spend, is because to keep that on. I mean, it could be even higher than that, but that is what is a recommendation from Apex.
Is the 750,000?
Right. If you remember, wanted us to put up higher, or said we could put higher, but this is a realistic, according to our claims.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Bill, so
Yes.
so it sounds to me like your comment about, Apex has worked hard, and so you want to stick with them. But I think back to all the times my father preached to me about, or warned against putting all your eggs in one basket. Have you reached out to any other entities like the schools or the city of Delphi or any other county governments to ask what plan they are using and what brokers they use and the costs affiliated with that? I mean, I can see how there's no need to reinvent the wheel. I mean, if our wagon is not working, then maybe reach out to see what someone else is doing that is working. And because, I do know one thing. Bill Sylvester, who's the representative you spoke to, he told me that Carroll County and Cass County are the only two counties in this area who are on this plan. And it's working well for Cass County for two reasons. Number one, we have a contract negotiated with the hospital. Ergo, they don't have the issues that our employees are having. And number two, they have someone full-time to help employees get through all the red tape and make sure all I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because it's not as simple as showing your insurance card at the point of service. There's a lot of follow-up that needs to be done. And that makes a big difference.
I missed your last line there, Melinda. That makes what?
It makes a large difference when you have someone to, in place to help move things along in this back and forth process. So, but I just find it odd that, that Carroll and White are the only two counties in this area that have a balanced bill plan like this. So obviously, maybe we should reach out to some other counties and see, you know, we're not the only person, and we're not the only entity or county in this situation. I'd like to know what's working for other counties. And one more point, the committee or any employee, even the employees that submitted surveys, who the fact that we don't have a contract with facilities wasn't a top priority. All I can say is that I don't think those people have had to go to a facility for services, but the first time you have to go to an emergency room because your child falls and breaks the bone, or you have a mammogram or a biopsy, or you have to have surgery, the first time you have a bill from one of these hospitals, then you're going to get a big wake-up call as to how the balance bill process is. And so until that happens, and I hope, you know, it doesn't happen, but eventually it will, you're going to be in the dark about, you know, what it's like to have a balance bill insurance program. And that's why, I guess that's why I've come to you once about my concerns, because I have been to the hospital for a mammogram, for a biopsy, thyroid, or whatever, and so I've had to deal with them a few times, and it hasn't went well. But I do appreciate you bringing this, you know, to the other commissioners and talking about it today.
Thank you. I guess I've lost, there was something there I was gonna comment on earlier, but then I've lost it now. Okay, Steve has said that he really, well, Steve, what do you wanna comment on anything here? I don't wanna speak for you.
No, I had the insurance and I complained about it myself. I had to use it. I've been sent to the collection agency, and when we was mandatory to do the health savings thing, I called it stupid human tricks. And we went through 3 auditors, and that's still against me of almost $750. But I turned all my paperwork into the auditor back in the day when we had 3 different auditors, and it's disappeared, so I can't do nothing about mine. But as a taxpayer, I believe our insurance is pretty decent. Yes, I do work for Purdue. I've got decent insurance down there, but I have to pay for that too. We can, you know, if they want better insurance, we can raise their cost of it. And I think for $50 a month that the people pay, besides the family end of it, I think we do pretty good for our employees. I wish we can do better for the employees. We always ask for more, and we always get turned down. I mean, it's a catch-22 for us. I mean, we can find a nice plan, give it to the, you know, in our budget, but then, you know, we're only allowed to spend what we can bring in. And it's not always the council's fault, because they're limited with what they have to work with.
So have you reached out to anyone else to see? I'd really like to see you reach out and find out, at least have some other entity other than Apex present you with some other option. Some option that's working for another county or city government. And also, the premium, $25 out of your pay, is pretty, I mean, that's pretty sweet. But I know one thing, if you presented me with the choice of doubling my premium, say $50 out of my paycheck instead of $25, and not have thousands of dollars owed to a hospital that is in collections, and there's nothing I can do about it. If presented with that choice, I can tell you which one I would choose.
Hey, Lauren, should I ask you to comment on this?
Well, I don't have any further comment. I think we could look at different options. You know, you get what you pay for. The upgrade, it's gonna cost more. That's all as simple as that. There might be some tricks out there, but you're gonna get what you pay for.
Okay. Well, I don't know where to go from here. Melinda suggested we talk to other counties. I have not done that. I could do that. I'm sure that some of them have a much easier time with the budget than what our council has with our budget. There's more of a tax base there to draw from. Steve and I both have served on the council. Now, mine's been a long time ago, and we just didn't have this big a problem because that was prior to the huge escalation in the healthcare costs. So it seemed like a lot at the time that we put into it, but it was nothing compared to what they cost now. Now, Steve, you went through it just like the term
3 years
before.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And that was the biggest issue we had, is how much we can afford
mhm.
and still give everybody else what they wanted in their budgets. Because you're limited.
Yeah.
And it depends, it depends on
With that,
claims.
you gotta cut something else.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know where to go with this, really.
Well, I think maybe next year we need to start looking out forward, because we've already entered the contract already, and I think it's past time. Not everybody wants to go to Logansport, not everybody wants to go to White County. We've got the clinic over in Florida, and we signed that up, people complaining they didn't want to go over there. I mean, you just can't make everybody happy, and unfortunately, it's a sad thing.
Well, we tried to alleviate some of the pain by putting in a clinic that they could go to, and also by the health savings accounts that we would put money into for them. I know that my wife appreciates that health savings account that she gets from here to spend for, it just goes into a checking account that she can spend on whatever we need for health wise, whether that's going to get a prescription or whatever. It's appreciated. Maybe we should just say that when we come around to this next year, we ought to start on it earlier and do a lot more looking on what, maybe open it up more and see if we can get more response from people offering health insurance. And I have a real, my eyes, as I always say, glaze over when somebody starts talking to me about insurance, because it's just not my thing. But on the other hand, if you're in the situation that Melinda's talking about, then insurance becomes very important to you. So I realize that's a shortcoming of mine, of not wanting to talk insurance. My suggestion is that I will look into what other counties are doing, and we'll try to start earlier next year on deciding on what we're going to do insurance-wise. What do you think about that, Lauren? Is that all right?
Well, it sounds reasonable. When's our contract? When is that renewed?
I don't know.
I think it's always in March.
In March?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Beth, can you tell us when the contracts are renewed?
No, I'm thinking it's June. We've done it for the June.
June
Uh-huh.
1st?
It takes effect July the 1st, so you probably start looking at it in March or what have you. By next year, which I think that's a good plan, Bill. It's really kind of late in the game to change anything at this point. by next year, you're gonna have a longer list of people who, are opinionated about this policy, because I mean, eventually everyone is gonna have to go to the hospital for some service or another. So, you know, the problem is just going to keep getting bigger. So if, I would like for you to encourage people who have an issue with the balance billing could you maybe ask them to reach out to you, one of the commissioners via email, or all of you via email, so you will be well informed as to the size of this issue. I think I would appreciate that, because although I put a lot of time, I tried to, you know, reach out to people to increase your awareness of this problem. It would be, I think, better if they would just reach out to you directly, so you will, like I said, be aware of how big of an issue this has become.
I think that's fine. And none of us, I can speak for the other two and myself on this, none of us have any qualms at all about getting feedback from employees on any issue. I personally would rather they just give me a call or meet me on the street and talk to me, come in here and talk to me about it, rather than a darned email. But if they want to do it via email, well, that's fine with me too. Now, we have had employees that have gone through this and haven't had a problem too. So we're just gonna have to weigh that all out. And I will follow through on this and find out what other counties are doing. And if Steve and I, Lauren will be here next year, maybe just come down to you, Lauren. You have to wade through all this next year. Steve and I, if we're back, well, we'll promise that we'll spend more time on getting this all put together and have some presentations done where employees can sit in on it and watch. How's that?
And there again, you might want to get a committee together again and
Okay.
help make a selection.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
And include a council member.
Definitely should. Yeah. Okay, let's move to the next item. I appreciate that discussion. I just have one more thing to bring up, and that is I have been, I've had messages from members of the highway department that are concerned because they feel like that they have been slighted, that the people in the courthouse here have, according to the highway department people, said that they haven't got the vacation time that the ones here did.
Not a vacation.
It wasn't supposed to be vacation, no, and they were supposed to be on call and be able to be called in any day. If you were called in the morning, you had to come in the afternoon. So it wasn't a vacation situation. And also, I mean, I don't know that I said it well enough, so I want to point out that what it is because of our you know, the Chinese plague that we've had here, that we had to close the courthouse. So those employees, according to state rules, were paid for time off when we closed it. That ruling came down to us. Now, what about the highway department who didn't get any time off? They're concerned that they should have some extra vacation time. One response I would have to that is, well, what about the sheriff's deputies and the jailers and the people at Carroll Manor and the ambulance people and all the other people that did not have time off? It was, according to our policy, it is by facility. So if one facility closes, the rest of them don't close. And I think that's a very reasonable policy. If there was a gas leak or something in the highway garage and they couldn't open today, that doesn't mean everybody in the courthouse is going home. It works both ways there. So either of you have a comment on this?
I had quite a few calls on this too from employees. You know, I feel their pain because, you know, I'm an essential employee. I worked through all this except for that 5 days I was quarantined. It's just part of my job. I signed up for it. I hate to say that. I work the sheriff's department, and I know I've talked to the sheriff about this too. Because he's called me and want to know what we can do, and I'm like, all I can do is just thank them for being there. We can't give bonuses. We can't do anything without going through the council, and we just don't have the money to give everybody an extra bonus for doing their job. It stinks. It's not the word I want to use, but I got to be politically correct. Yes, the employees at the courthouse got to go home, but they worked from home, the ones that could. And I think most of them did a wonderful job. And some of them that didn't get to work, yeah, it was kind of like a days off, but that was forced on us. It's nothing we can do. All I can do is just thank them for their hard work they've done in all the departments, even in the courthouse, the ones that work from home. They had struggles too because they didn't have all the equipment they needed to do their job. And it's just a sad thing. And if you start doing one for one department and you do through the others, it's just not going to work out for the county very well. And it's just a sad situation.
I think you said that very well, Steve. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
Well, I agree with Steve that I'm very thankful that we had employees who did serve and did commit to their jobs, whether they felt like they were forced to or not. And I appreciate the precautions that each department put in place, and I think they're well managed. So if we shut the highway down for how many weeks?
10 weeks.
Where would we be today? So, I mean, a lot of work's been done with the county highway. They're not paving roads, they're not doing that sort of thing, but they're out there busy. I've talked to Bob Lowry, and I think you're keeping pretty busy. They're taking a lot of precaution, and that takes time to do that too. So I'm just thankful for them. And yeah, I'd like to give them a bonus, but is it feasible? Giving time off, that's not really in our policy. So I'm just thankful for all our employees. I mean, I'm thankful for the ones who had to stay at home because if they actually did that, because they took the precaution. And I'm thankful that, I didn't want to close the courthouse down, but letting the public just come in and free roam during all this. There's a lot of fear out there, and any precaution you can take to keep people healthy. I got my thoughts on this whole thing, but that's just my thoughts, and everybody ain't worth a nickel to anybody but me. So I'm just thankful that, the highway departments, Carroll Manor, and the sheriff's department, the EMS, all of them, that Beth and the whole crew there, that they kept things going the way they have, and hopefully we can get back up to full speed. Personally, I'd rather be out there working, doing something daily, than being sitting in the house at all times.
I think both of you have covered all the points that I would have to say. It hadn't come up to me about bonus. It was just they were just asking about the ones that approached me about time off. I don't know if it's still the same. The state changes rules all the time, but I know in talking to other commissioners that commissioners clear down on the Ohio River, like Lawrenceburg, when they first put in the river boats down there, and there was a certain portion of it went to the county that was right there. They suddenly found themselves just flush with money, and one of the commissioners there told me, he says, we repaved every street, we repaved every road, we put up street lights everywhere we could, we've done everything, we still had all this extra money, so we decided at Christmas we were going to give, I think it was a $10,000 bonus to each employee. And the state came in on them and said, no, you can't do that. You can't give bonuses. They said, well, we have the money, why not? I said, that's just the rules, you can't do that. So I don't even know that that's an option to us to get a bonus. We're just a subset of the state. We have to do what they say. I wanted to bring that up to you, gentlemen. I think you've both spoken very well on it. Is there anything else that we need to cover? Is there anybody out that's watching this that needs a question answered or has a comment that they'd like to make? I'd sure like to hear them.
Bill, this is Ted.
Yes, Ted.
I would like to give you a heads up that the CARES Act, Carroll County has a potential of receiving up to $650,000 for reimbursement for COVID-19 related costs and so forth. And I have talked to the attorney for not Mark Cranley, not the Fox 59 attorney,
Right.
but the bond counsel attorney. They are signing up counties for putting their applications in for this money in, and there's going to be a proposed contract on your next meeting's agenda to look at. I'll have Beth send it to you to take a look at. To try to capture as much of this money that we are potentially eligible for. I think it's based on population, so that's going to be coming up at your next meeting. And the other thing I wanted to bring up is the Fox 59 lawsuit. The 45 days, I believe, is up June the 13th. That's a Saturday. That may mean the petition for transfer to the Indiana Supreme Court has to be filed within that 45 days unless they get an extension. So that time is still running. But the 13th is the day on the calendar. I think that means it goes to the following Monday, since that's on a weekend. And then the third thing that I want to bring up, I think that the council and commissioners would benefit from having a caucus, a joint caucus with Jack Krause to kind of he has, you know, he gathered information while this has been going on, you know, but I think the council and the commissioners, the purpose of a caucus is to prepare the members of the governing bodies to make official decisions, and this is a subject that I think is that this fits perfectly, and I'm going to suggest that you give thought to scheduling a caucus with the council sometime, you know, this month definitely, and it can be in conjunction with one of the other meetings, or you want to wait until after the 22nd, or certainly by early July, but the sooner the better to get this information, because the information, the cost information does change, and he's monitoring that. Jack is monitoring that. But I think the commissioners and council together need to be able to convene behind closed doors to get his counsel on this, so that you can be prepared to make a decision. Now, a big part of this has to do with the income, the potential for the effects of the COVID-19 on revenue is a big factor in this project. So those are the three things I wanted to bring to your attention, and you can you know, communicate to me privately, individually, if you have thoughts or questions about this. That's all I had.
I was gonna bring shit up myself, Ted.
Good. Appreciate you bringing both those things up, Ted. It'd be wonderful if we could get some extra money coming in because of this, because we've certainly had extra expense. The purpose of a caucus would be, help me out here, Ted.
The caucus is not considered a meeting. A caucus is a gathering of the members of a political party, of a governing body, for the purpose of preparing the members of the caucus for making a decision, of taking official action. It's a recognized exception in the open door law, and it's used by the state all the time. The entire, there's a majority caucus in the state, there's a minority caucus in the state, and they meet in advance of their sessions all the time. They schedule caucuses throughout the legislative session. Counties are no different. And it makes no difference whether the majority caucus, which is the Republican caucus, it can be the entire membership of the council, the entire membership of the commissioners. They can legally meet to prepare their members to take action on official business. And you would be meeting with your counselor, the jail advisor, and he has, gathered the information with the assistance of Elevatus and Baker Tilly and so forth. And the caucus gives the members of the governing body the opportunity to ask questions so that they can prepare themselves to make decisions. And it is a closed door situation. The two bodies can caucus individually or they can caucus together. I have experience in Clinton County with major projects like this, where the council of commissioners have caucused with their advisors, and it gives the members of the governing bodies the opportunity to ask ask questions that they think, well, maybe I should know this, but enlighten me, Now, this doesn't take the place of the public discussion. This is for the purpose of preparing the members of the governing bodies to make their own decisions so that they can hear one another's views and exchange those views, and to prepare them to take official action. There can't be any voting. It's all a matter of exchange of information and questions and answers and so forth.
Sounds like a
Lauren,
good
Steve,
idea.
what do you think?
I think we need to do it. I think we need to do it before the end of the month. Maybe we can get our lovely auditor to maybe try to get dates set up for us. I'd prefer evenings, but I will do my best to attend. We're shorthanded at work. It's hard for me to be off in the mornings.
I appreciate you being able to take this time, Steve.
Thank you.
Lauren, what are you thinking?
I think it's a great idea. I know on the federal level, they caucus all the time. You hear about that. Evenings would work good for me.
Woodwork?
I could do evening, we need to get something and get going on this, or not, whatever.
After we open, and, but if you give me some dates that would be okay for you.
After we open, to me, this is pretty important. I'll clear my schedule in the evening, whatever I've got going on. I think, because we got a lot of money out there sitting right now. People are paying to do a whole lot of nothing.
But I mean, like the week of 22nd or the 29th or the 30th or what?
Yeah, that'd be fine. The week we open, it'd be perfect.
Okay, I can see what the council has. If you would like to.
These are, Ted, I myself think that if we're going to do this, it should be with the council. It shouldn't be just a caucus of the three of us. There's nothing that I could see that the three of us couldn't bring up in a public meeting that could do it. But if we're gonna do it with the council, how do we invite them to a caucus? How does this work? We've never done one of these.
Right. I mean, I think either Beth or you reach out to Josh and get some dates and schedule it. It does not require, but the ones that done in Clinton County, they did post a notice that